Welcome back, y'all. This is the first emergency episode of the No Time to Kill podcast. Fresh off a Steelers win. I'm very excited right now. Just watched the motherfucking Ravens settle the game. Tyler Loop, thank you, my brother. Thank you. That leg, hey, thank you. It came right in clutch for us to win. But we have to play better. This team is not gonna beat the Texans if we can't score. If our receivers can't get separation. If Aaron Rodgers, he got to start hitting some of these deep passes because that's kind of been without DK Metcalf, I can't really blame him. But that's kind of been something we struggled with most of the year. We haven't had any big plays, and just watching the Steelers win though today was really good. So I had to make a quick little emergency episode, and then now all of the all the playoff teams are locked in. So I felt like I should go over who I think is gonna win. Jordan's picks. Starting with the AFC, we got Denver with the fucking they clinched their bye week. Second matchup, we got Buffalo and Jacksonville. Now with Jacksonville, I would go with Jacksonville, but I don't know about Trevor Lawrence, those interceptions. He's been playing good, but I ain't seen him in the playoffs ever. So, to take him over somebody is going to ball out, Josh Allen, I think he's going to have a really good game. He's not going to lose. It's in Jacksonville, so shit. We'll see. But I'm going to take Buffalo with this one. Second matchup, this is a really, really good one. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. We have the Chargers and the New England Patriots with the 2 seed. I don't feel like the Patriots are that good, and they have the 2 seed, but that's kind of like a paper title. That's not really something. They don't really play like that. I'm a Steelers fan. We played them, we dominated them, and I don't feel like this team is like there yet. They're still young. They still need a couple of pieces. And I think the Chargers, they have a really they have a really good offense. They could score, but I don't think it's gonna be that dynamic where it's gonna be like a shootout type game. It's gonna be a really close game. I feel like it's gonna be a defensive game, and I will take the Chargers. And I feel like this one could even go to overtime, and it'll be a low scoring game, but I'll take the Chargers. And finally, the matchup we all been waiting for. The Houston Texans versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. With the Steelers coming in, we're getting DK Metcalf back. We're on the road. That's going to be tough. I think the last time we won a playoff game was like 2016, I want to say. Yeah, 2016. So it's been pretty tough. And we're playing a team that just won 9 games in a row in the Texans. And I've been looking at the Texans. CJ Stroud's not that impressive, but that defense is shut down. And I have a big fear that they might shut us down, or we might go we might not even score damn near. Because in this Ravens game, we were shut out first 2 quarters. We scored 0 points. Excuse me, I'm a little sick. We scored 0 points. And then it was till halftime. Then we got a little life in our offense. That type of shit, can happen in the playoffs, especially with Mike Tomlin playing for his job. And if you seen that nigga at the end of the game, that nigga is definitely playing for his job. So I think the Steelers will win this. We'll edge it out with DK Metcalf coming back. That will be the deciding factor that will take us over the top. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to hit DK deep as much as possible, and we'll get out to a big lead. And Steelers will hopefully get this win, and we'll go see the Chargers. Now to the NFC. And we got the Seahawks with the 1st seed and a bye week. Second bracket here, we got the Chargers and Carolina. This is also a bye week. I don't think Carolina is really finna do nothing to the goddamn. Oh, I said the Chargers, the Rams. Sorry, my bad. I don't think the Rams. I don't think Carolina could beat the Rams. To be honest with you, I think Carolina barely got in, and they just won't be fucking happy to be there. I don't really think this is going to be a competitive game. I'm not really looking forward to it. That's easy pick, the Rams. This is like a bye week for them. Um, Now this one is going to be a really, really good game. Jordan Love and Caleb Williams, and that's going to be the Packers and Bears, and they're going to play in Lambeau. So we'll see how Caleb he plays in Lambeau. I think Caleb is gonna probably edge it out with, his legs. He keeps some plays alive. And I think that's what's going to be the deciding factor. They're not going to be able to take him down without Micah Parsons. And I feel like the Bears are just going to have that edge over the Packers just because Parsons is gone for the year. And I know that's like somebody they really, really depended on. And he was putting in work this season. But it's still going to be competitive because, the Jordan Love and the Packers, they've been here before. They know how to score. They have a proven team. But I think this is Caleb Williams' time to prove himself. And I do see him pulling this win out in Lambeau. And finally, this one also I feel like is another bye week. Some of these matchups in the NFC are terrible. San Francisco versus Philly. I just watched San Francisco score 3 points. I really don't see them doing much against, the reigning champs in Philly. I think Philly has just been bluffing everybody right now, getting everybody to, think they're weak. But I think Philly just could turn it on like that and edge out a couple of, wins. And definitely, I feel like they can definitely get back into the Super Bowl for sure. So I'll take Philly in this one. And so far, that will be it for week 1 of the NFL playoffs, the wild card round. Let's go on to the next topic. World War III is popping off. That man, Donald Trump, said in the fucking heat of the night, I will come and snatch a president. I don't give a fuck. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but I surely have. And it's kind of, it's kind of crazy that this shit's going on. You hear this stuff like on the news about all the, people are posturing to go to war. But nothing ever really, really happens. But on January 3rd, the military or United States military carried out a large-scale invasion in Venezuela. And we targeted President Nicolas Maduro. And I'm reading an article here. Got a couple of sources I'll give out, man. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that Maduro and his wife, Cecilia Flores, were captured and taken into U.S. custody and flown out of the country. The operation was reportedly involved airstrikes and special operation forces, and Maduro was taken into the United States to face criminal charges, according to U.S. officials. The Trump administration framed the action as a law enforcement and national security mission, not just a strike, tied to a long outstanding U.S. criminal charge against Maduro for alleged drug trafficking tied to narco-terrorism, first brought in 2020. The United States has also maintained a military presence in the Caribbean in the recent months and had an increasingly severe presence on Maduro's government. With Maduro removed, Venezuela's Supreme Court and the military backed Vice President Delcy Rodriguez as interim president under the constitutional succession rules. Rodriguez initially made statements denouncing the U.S. operation and defending Maduro as the illegitimate leader. The strike and the capture has drawn international criticism, with leaders like Spain's prime minister calling U.S. action a violation of international law. Cuba has announced that 32 citizen members of its military and intelligence services were killed during the U.S. operation in Venezuela. Maduro is being held in federal detention center in New York and is expected to appear in court on January the 5th, so Monday. The legality of the United States intervention is being questioned globally because of international law generally bars the use of force without the UN approval of clear self-defense and justification. So basically, all that pretty much sums up is we went into Venezuela, we took their president, ain't shit they could do about it. All the other weak-ass countries, they can complain. But I mean, we got charges against the man for narco-terrorism, apparently. I know this isn't about fucking narco terrorism. This is about oil. We want their oil. This is something even Donald Trump has stated. If you guys could look into anything he stated about Venezuela and their oil, he wants that oil. So this is something that it's not about cleaning up drugs and stuff. America controls what comes in and what comes out of its country, and I feel like people have always known that, especially now that we know, like, they brought in cocaine to black communities, Latino communities, flooded it with cocaine, made sure that crack was charged different than cocaine, all these type of things, just to keep us impoverished, keep us down. So this is nothing new, just United States picking on small guys. And I know I sounded kind of fired up, but you kind of get fired up when you see, like, damn, a lot of people been shitting on the US, and this was just kind of a reminder, like, the United States does have a lot of power. And we could get your president, nigga. We can get him in the heat of the night, nigga. You gotta keep him locked up. I heard he tried to flee to his room, but we caught him. He got snatched up. What is not good though is what I just mentioned about those 32 Cubans that passed away. The United States and Cuba have never had really good relations since, I feel like going back to the 1950s, 60s, starting then, since the missile crisis. So I think that might cause some type of tension. But as of right now, I think we just got this off. I just think Trump got it off, and it's crazy he's doing it, but it's not surprising anymore because when they want something, they just take it. And when I say they, I don't mean white people. I mean like the elites. They just take whatever they want, and other people are just kind of subject to like just sit there and just let it happen. And it's kind of sad that they have so much power and they could do this. Even like Spain called them out. It's crazy that they could do this. Spain's probably the only first world country I see speaking up about it. But because I mean, this is kind of like an act of war because it could start some things in South America. All the countries down there start to unite against America or Northern America, and you never know. But we're definitely getting that oil. Your price of gas is going down. So I mean, shit, it ain't all bad, and it just seems like another operation in U.S. type shit. Just military type things going on, shit we can't control. So, in other news, I just finished Stranger Things season 5, part 2, and I really, really felt like the series kind of like lost its way. I started season 5, part 1, and I remember like watching and being like, I can't even finish the first episode. It was just like, it was not entertaining. It was kind of like the same old tropes and stuff, and especially watching a good show like Welcome to Derry, you kind of like, you don't get the same like horror vibes from Stranger Things. Like, I know it was never much of a horror show, but like it still had a little scary element to it. But just watching season 5, that was completely gone. Like, Vecna, probably the worst final villain I think they could have had for the show. Very boring. Just a pedophile or something. Like, I don't know what he was. Just like a weirdo Freddy Krueger type dude. Just weird. Getting beat up by fat kids. Getting out overpowered by fat kids. And let me mention one thing. That fat kid was. I see people love him, but he was the worst part of the show to me. Like, he was not funny. I was like, this is just corny. We could just cut him out, and we could just keep the plot moving. Could have gave some of his time to, I think, Erica. I felt like she didn't get any screen time, really. She kind of got really put in the back for all the work she put in, just like, black women usually, they just get put in the side, background. And they did Lucas the same way, you feel me, with his haircut. I don't know what kind of haircut that was. I don't know who the fuck approved that rainbow shit they put on his head, but watching that was pretty distracting. I ain't gonna lie. It just took away. It took away. He's my favorite character, but it just like, I just couldn't get over it, and I feel like a lot of people felt the same way. Like, it was just like so bad. Like, who approved this? But on to season 5, part 2. I watched I watched that. I just tried to finish it. It was a chore, and it was like I would say I think episode 3 where I was like, okay, this is probably where I'm gonna cut this off, and then I was just like, oh man, like for the review, I gotta finish it for y'all. I gotta finish it, so let me power through. And then when I got to the end, it was very disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. Um, it was very open ended. Spoiler alert. Um, I don't know if L is dead or they're gonna do a spinoff. I don't know if that was a dream. I really don't know how they played it because they definitely had that scene shot in what they said Greenland. I looked it up. So I don't know at this point. I'm not watching any more of this shit to be honest with you. It definitely lost its point. It was a great show to begin with. Very like fun show to watch. Like kind of gave you nostalgia. Even though I didn't grow up in the '80s, but like I had friends like that where we would go ride our bikes around the town and just get into stuff. And we weren't always the most popular kids, but you feel me? We had each other, so that was what kind of was cool. And I kind of liked that in this story, but I felt like it just kind of like withered away eventually, and then I was like, yeah, it's just too long of gaps in between where I just didn't care anymore. But if you're a fan of it, is it worth the watch? I would say yes, just to see how it ends. If you've been watching, just might as well finish it. But I would not recommend anybody start this show because it's like one of the most up there with Lost for sure. It's up there with Lost as one of the most disappointing shows. Like a show that just lost the point of like literally lost the like point. And I don't feel like that same. I didn't feel any of that same spark of anything in Stranger Things season 5. So if I was to rate it, I'd rate it a 2 out of 5. And I'd say a better show would be It Welcome to Derry. But on to better things that Netflix put out after the Jake Paul fight. I didn't watch the fight, but I seen on Twitter that Dave Chappelle dropped a new or X that Dave Chappelle dropped a new special, and it's a complicated relationship I have with Dave Chappelle because like he's always been my favorite comedian, but I felt like he's kind of been like same thing with anybody any professional. They kind of reach a point where they start to fall off, and you kind of like see that the magic is kind of waning. And with Dave, I felt like in his last couple specials, I was like, he's kind of relying on some of these little trans jokes or little one-liners, and he's kind of getting off of being just Dave Chappelle. None of these jokes are staying with me. Like I don't really, they don't stick with me like his old stuff. But in this one, the Unstoppable, I felt like he started it very strong, and I love the theme of the whole special. I really enjoyed the special, if you guys couldn't tell. But I love from beginning to that little Falcon joke was corny, but I love almost the entire special. I was locked in, like this man is telling you a story and you're just getting caught up in all these stories, and of course some are fabricated, but he's so good that you just are along for the ride. And it's a very it's like they say, like it's an odyssey. So it's like a journey he's taking you on where he's putting you through history. He's giving you some one line jokes. He's giving you some background about his life. He's giving you some crazy, like, conspiracy stuff. And it's just, stuff to make you think. And this is the special I feel like is his best work of recent, you know, where he's making people think again, and he's making sure people leave with like substance, if that makes sense. Not just like ha ha, nigga joke, but like now he has you thinking about Jack Johnson and the Mann Act and why they created the Mann Act and why they charged a person like P Diddy with the Mann Act after so long. Not to defend P Diddy, but like he mentioned, they knew of his bullshit for a long time, but it's when he reached a certain point that they cut him down. And I think that he was very he had very poignant that very poignant part about his friend Charlie Barnett, I think. I had to look him up. He was a really he's a funny comic, but I I didn't enjoy him, but he had a really poignant story about him where I was like, wow, you know, it kind of was touching, you know, and you don't really hear Dave tell you a story about his real friends, you know, and hearing that, like, that was a really, really, really good story. And, or, you know, I just enjoyed it. But, to finish off the special, he definitely had me like almost tearing up with all of the montages of all the famous people, the Stevie Wonder songs. He had the Falcon, so I was like, oh shit, just like the story he was telling. You know, of course he fabricated a little bit of it, but it was a little bit of truth. And just seeing like, wow, like how inspiring somebody is like Dave Chappelle. He is unstoppable himself. This is a comedian that faced everything. He was told, like, you know, he was not good enough, all this stuff. They called him Pilot Boy because he never could get his show. And then when he finally got his show, they tried to take it from him and make him coon out, and he denied that. And he stood up for himself, and he believed in himself. And I think that's what I always admire about Dave Chappelle is he believed in himself, and he took the chance, and then he went away and came back even better. So I think if you have an opportunity that's special, the Unstoppable, it will leave you it'll leave you definitely flabbergasted. Like, wow, like this is definitely like I'm watching somebody that, you know, the greatest comedian of all time for sure, without a doubt. It's like you're seeing somebody who can do it all, like a preacher, a comedian, like, you know, he could definitely be a politician, you know, all that type of stuff. But definitely give it a watch. I'd give it a 4 out of 5 for sure. I enjoyed it thoroughly.